Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news, a daily briefing on stand-up comedy, comedians, and the comedy industry. I'll do the political stuff in the second half today. Many things can be true at once. That stuff is both super important, but I also understand what this podcast is and isn't, and it's not a political podcast. I always try and do the politics through the lens of comedy. So let's do the fun stuff in the first half. Shane Gillis was out snowboarding over the weekend. Like a lot of the country, we had that winter storm. Central Park in New York City got 11 inches of snow, which I grew up in New York. I went from kindergarten through college and had one snow day my entire career in New York City. There was one snow day. There was a blizzard, I think, in like 1981 or so, and I had 1 2-hour delay in high school, and that was it. So 11 inches of snow in New York City is a lot. So Shane Gillis hit Central Park and was joined by snowboarding icon Shaun White. Now, luckily, a bunch of people with cameras just happened to be there. I mean, it is New York City, but, total tangent. But to the point, I'm a U2 fan. Do you remember at one point, Bono was supposedly in a bike accident in Central Park, and then he missed some shows, and there was even like an Apple event that Bruce Springsteen had to fill in as the singer for U2. This is all things that happened. You could look it up, but I don't want to digress too long. You mean to tell me Bono had a bike accident in New York City and nobody filmed it? Nobody saw the ambulances coming? Nobody was like, hey, that's Bono? Zero chance that story's true. I don't believe it. Because even if you're Shane Gillis and you're snowboarding with Shaun White, people film it. As the story goes, at one point in the day, Shaun White decided to perform a daredevil stunt and involved Shane Gillis and Tyres co-star Chris O'Connor. Shane and Chris sat in front of a freshly constructed jump. Shaun White caught some air and jumped over their heads. Now, Yahoo has to calm down with this headline. Olympic legend, fine, Shaun White jumps over 2 famous comedians in Central Park, one of which was Shane Gillis, who's kind of famous. Chris O'Connor, I don't know about that. Famous? John Mulaney was on Mike Birbiglia's podcast and got some headlines sharing that he is supporting a lot of Olivia Munn's family members. Mulaney told Birbig, she's Vietnamese and she has a large Vietnamese family in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, of which I am one of the significant financial contributors. For the first 39 years of my life, I supported 0 Vietnamese people, probably none, and now I have 10 on the books. With parents of some success, you don't really do anything for them, and it brings me great joy to help out, to help, and do fun things for Olivia's family. Joked, are you thinking when you're having a nice relationship with them that in the back of their mind they're thinking, I wonder if he'll send me $1,000? That's hilarious. Mulaney said, there's no wonder. In the back of the mind, you mean the front of the voice? The front of the voice, the words coming out of their mouth? Biggs was like, Olivia's family says, how much money do you have? I actually like that. Mulaney said, yeah, I tell them they love it. They couldn't like it more. Bert Kreischer revealed that he's taking a break from drinking, and it sounds like it's a little serious. Here he is on We Might Be Drunk with Mark Norman and Sam Morril.
We need a drink. Let's have a drink.
I can't drink.
What's
drink. Up? Please. Oh, you didn't hear?
Medication?
Yeah, blood clots.
What?
Yeah, my legs, yeah.
All right, so we won't drink at a
No, you drink.
No.
You know I never cared about that. Yeah, bad.
You all right?
In my lungs, yeah. Yeah.
Blood clots.
Guys, I'm saving it for Rogan, so...
Is that from drinking, or...?
No, it's from passing out on a plane.
Seemed people really liked Free Bert. Flix Patrol said it was the 6th most watched TV show on Netflix worldwide. Free Bert is trending in 39 countries. It's not the most watched show in any of the countries, but it ranked as high as number 2 in Australia. In Canada, South Africa, and the United States, it ranked number 3. TV Insider asked Bert, now that the show's out, how's it feel? Bert said, nerve-wracking. I get texts from higher-ups at Netflix, and they're so excited. They said it was such a great show, and they're excited for people to see it. I just wrote back, it's very different from a stand-up special. You know, with a stand-up special, it'll perform well because you've done the material, you know the material works, and you'll be proud of the material forever. With a TV show, you get a 4-wing swing at it, and then you're in the edit bay, and you hope people like it. I'm just hoping new fans find it and identify with it. I've gotten a really good response from the show so far that I didn't really expect. Gayle King loved it, which I did not see coming. Drew Barrymore loved it, which I did not see coming. Do you hear Bert Kreischer going mainstream, doing Drew and Gayle King? It is cash in time because the edge is off. Bert says, that's the type of fans I'm trying to reach out to. All right, we're on line there, Bert. Fans who are unfamiliar with my fans. Maybe you know me as the guy who takes his shirt off, then they say this and they can see themselves in me. Chris Spencer is getting a special on Hulu. It's called Goat Adjacent. It'll be on Hulu February 4th, taped at the Cicada in downtown L.A. Chris Spencer touches on everything from marriage and family to aging, race, and his Jamaican roots. Jim Brewer is one of the panelists on Kill Tony this week. I saw a lot of people saying it was a pretty good episode, and they were impressed by Brewer rolling with it, so I'll be curious to check that one out. Pete Davidson has apparently filmed an ad for Sonic. It is assumed that will appear during the Super Bowl, but there are pictures of Pete clearly in front of a Sonic holding a Sonic burger or something. Jimmy Carr has blasted Brooklyn Beckham. Have you seen this? The Beckham family is all fighting. Jimmy Carr called Brooklyn Beckham an entitled Nepo baby. In case you missed it, on January 19th, Brooklyn Beckham posted a lengthy statement on Instagram where he announced he has no wish to reconcile with his family, including David Beckham and Victoria Beckham, and he's standing up for himself for the first time in his life. Jimmy Carr said he claims he's not just a Nepo baby, he's a chef. I think he's so entitled he's mixed up being a chef with making his own dinner. He probably brushes his teeth and thinks I'm actually an effing brilliant dentist. And guess who's back in the news? That guy Jay Leno. He's the worst. Remember last year he weighed in on late night comedy and the guy's always taking care of his ill wife. This guy, I can't believe this guy. He spoke to the Springfield News Sun and he said, Nikki Glazer's great. Because here's the thing, her stage act is so filthy, but it's funny. In comedy, the one exception is that everything's okay so long as it's funny. When you see her do the Golden Globes, she really works on her set. She'll go to 5 nightclubs a night just to try the 5 minutes and keep taking words out to make it tighter and tighter. She's a real pro, and I really admire her. She's a professional comedian, and she gauges her material to the audience, and that's what I try to do. Yeah, I bet you do, Jay. The worst person who ever lived went on to say, I mean, your job as a comedian is to tell a joke. It's nice to be socially aware and be conscious and do all that kind of stuff. I try to do that in my private life, but to bring it to an audience, it's not what they're there for. You went to Rodney Dangerfield because he had jokes. He just made you laugh. Just stupid silly, you know? And that's what we try to do here. Jay says he tries to have a joke every 6 to 9 seconds because the audience must be engaged. That's the old Bob Hope rule. If you tell 6 jokes a minute, one of them might land. Jay said, I don't use obscenities in my act, not because I'm offended by it. I'm just bored by it. I find it really lazy, you know? And then when I say that, I'm the old guy complaining about the new comic. Plus, for the comedy to really work, there has to be a certain structure. I thought this was interesting. Jay said he rarely writes any of his jokes down because he's dyslexic. He tries to keep all his jokes in his head, but he says he's got a notch in his brain for things that are funny, and he tends to forget things that aren't funny. Really interesting here. Jay Leno said, it makes a footnote in your brain, and you just remember to try and say it again somewhere. Doesn't always work, but for the most part it does. When bad things happen to me, I seem to forget them. I know my parents passed away. I love my parents very much, but I still can't tell you what day they did because I don't want to remember that. With other things that gets a laugh or stories that get a reaction, I remember them like they happened yesterday. Did you vote yet for Comedy Survivor Week 4? I was checking out the Facebook group. Everybody was super active. A lot of votes going on. There's some early momentum against Tig Notaro, but then some people are hanging back to see which way the wind is blowing and how they want to weigh in on that. I thought that was interesting, the hang back until later in the week strategy. Very interesting. And there's also some people like Ron White, and I think there was a Jim Gaffigan vote. Some people who hadn't gotten votes before are now getting votes. So Comedy Survivor is heating up. So what do? You go to the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. You write down the name of the person you want off. Voting ends end of day on Thursday. Couple quick notes on late night. Colbert, during his taping with Seth Meyers, revealed that the series finale of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert will air Thursday, May 21st. I know somebody who wants to travel that week. That's going to be a little annoying. We'll figure it out. The rest of today's program will be quite serious, and I personally believe if you do have a forum, even if it's this one, you should use it. As expected, Late Night did comment on the killing of Alex Pretti. Jimmy Kimmel, I find very powerful here in this clip I'm about to play. It's a long clip, but I think Jimmy Kimmel did a great job here.
I spent the weekend, like probably a lot of you did, looking at my phone and just feeling shocked and sick about what is happening in Minneapolis. These one video after another, screaming people being torn from their families, Americans, people who are born in the United States being pulled out of their cars for the crime of having an accent or whatever, children, small children, babies being tear gassed, taken into custody, separated from their parents, just one atrocity after another being committed by this gang of poorly trained, shamefully led, mask-wearing goons. And that is what they are. They're goons committing vile, heartless, and even criminal acts. And it's sickening to watch, and it's frustrating to watch. It's like we're all being forced to play a game that has no rules. They just make up the rules as they go along. We see these videos in which we clearly see one of our fellow Americans executed by ICE, and they won't even admit that it was a mistake. They say the Honda SUV Renee Good was driving was weaponized. They say the gun Alex Pretti had a license to carry in an open carry state. All right, many of these same people screamed very loudly about when it was Kyle Rittenhouse carrying the gun, a gun that Alex Pretti did not even draw, did not touch, a gun that was taken from him by one of the agents before he was shot dead by the other ones. They fired 10 times on an ICU nurse. They're telling us, well, it was justified, you know? Is that the law and order that you voted for if you voted for this? Every day is a nightmare now. My wife and I have family in Minneapolis. They're afraid to take their kids to school. They're afraid to go to work. And I can only imagine how people who aren't white feel about this. How does this end? What's the plan here? Is the plan to just keep doing this in every city that didn't vote for Donald Trump? Does anyone on any side believe this is good leadership? We keep saying we need to find subjects that we can agree on. Can we agree that peaceful protesters, including moms driving SUVs on their way back after dropping their 6-year-old off at school, and a nurse who stepped in to protect a woman from harm, don't deserve to be shot dead in the street by the people we are paying to protect us? Can we agree on that?
A really great job by Jimmy Kimmel. I was touched emotionally watching it, but Jimmy was nowhere near done.
Can we agree that when we see a person murdered in cold blood, that there should at least be an investigation of that? And that our head of, our ironically titled head of Homeland Security has the responsibility to get facts before telling us that what we saw we did not see. I mean, if we can't agree on that, forget it then. This one seems pretty open and shut to me. I think we can agree on this one. It's on video. Look at it. Do your own research. And then once you form your own opinion without being told what you saw, say something. Where are the reasonable voices on the right? I mean, we don't have to agree on everything, but come on.
I also have a long clip from Stephen Colbert, also strong. I like Kimmel's a little better, but here's Stephen Colbert.
Only 17 days after Renee Good was shot and killed by an ICE agent, another American citizen was shot and killed by Customs and Border Protection agents. And again, Trump administration officials immediately blamed the victim, calling him a domestic terrorist. But videos appear to contradict federal accounts of the shooting. That analysis was from the New York Times, and they weren't alone. They were joined by NBC News, PBS News, Reuters, The Washington Post, and The Wall Street Journal, as well as your own Eyes and Ears magazine, and I Know That's Pee on My Leg Weekly. The man who was shot and killed by CBP was named Alex Pretti, and the administration is making a big deal out of the fact that Pretti was legally carrying a handgun. But as you can see in all the videos, he never pulled out or brandished that gun. Now, I'm not going to play you that video. You've all seen it. And if you haven't seen it, it's because you didn't want to, and I don't blame you. But here's what the video shows. At first, Mr. Pretti appears to be filming the scene with his phone and directing traffic. An agent begins shoving the demonstrators and squirts pepper spray at their faces. Pretti moves to help one of the protesters who was sprayed as other agents approach and pull him from behind. Several agents tussle with Mr. Pretti before bringing him to his knees. He appears to resist as the agents grab his legs, push down on his back, and strike him repeatedly. An agent crouches down, reaches toward Pretti, and lifts a gun from Pretti's back near his waistband. Another agent unholsters his gun at virtually the same moment and points it at Pretti's back at close range. 2 other agents open fire, shooting him in the back as he lays on the ground. At least 10 shots were fired, killing him. Masked government agents disarmed an American citizen and then executed him in the streets. That's what it looks like.
Jon Stewart weighed in. I went to pull the audio, and, Jon does something different, and he was diving in and out of making serious points around jokes. And I feel like the audio would actually undercut his argument. So when Jon was serious, he said, they're lying. We saw it. And that's how brazen they lie when they know we've seen the truth. Imagine how they lie when there's no evidence to contradict them. And that, more than anything, explains why Alex Pretti was really a threat, because he was brandishing a weapon, a handheld aluminum, 1080p, 60 FPS weapon of mass illumination. Because there's nothing more dangerous to a regime predicated on lies than witnesses who capture the truth. And then there's Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy, I often defend Jimmy Fallon on this show, but Jimmy, come on, man. All right. So I'm going to play you a clip from Jimmy. When you start to hear the crazy applause, that's when New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani made a walk-on. I trimmed the audience reaction. It was quite lengthy. And again, I try to defend Jimmy Fallon, but sometimes, dude, you got to read the room. I get what the Tonight Show is, but this just is like, what are we doing? Here's Jimmy Fallon's show.
Yeah, it's freezing out there. It's so cold, J.D. Vance shrunk to the size of Marco Rubio. It is so cold, I watched the Mulaney movie just to warm my heart. You know, it's so cold, President Trump got a space heater installed in his MRI machine.
Hey, Jimmy, let me try one. It's so cold in New York City, the rent froze itself. Good night, everybody.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. But seriously, stay inside, stay warm, stay safe. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr.
Now, despite my commentary on what Jimmy chose to do, let me play that last piece again because it's a little Letterman-y, the way they wrapped it up after the good night, everybody, and the music staying just here. Listen to this little part again.
The rent froze itself. Good night, everybody.
All right, everyone.
It reminds me a little bit of 12:30 David Letterman. Maybe it's just me. And that is your comedy news for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.